Hello, everyone. And tonight we're going to be doing a French called Hobnob Pinot Noir. But before that, we're going to talk a little about corks, real quick. Now, the first cork that was invented was because they used to use wooden plugs, stoppers. And then Don Perignon, who was a monk, Don Perignon was a monk, and Don Perignon came up with the first cork, 1700s. Now, cork nowadays you have the twist off too, the twist off aluminums, because cork becomes an expensive part of making the wine. You don't say cork, a good cork, like the champagne is the most expensive cork. Now, if I'll show, this is an old Mum's 1966 cork. It's hard to see because I didn't have any newer corks. But if you look, this is a different color. This little piece right there, that piece of cork costs more than the rest, all this cork. And then this cork here costs more than 10 times what this cork costs. But champagnes are made from 3 corks, okay? And then they put the muzzle on top, the wiring, okay? But champagne is the most expensive cork. Then corks also come in different sizes, okay? They have synthetic corks, then they have real corks. This is a synthetic cork, okay? They use synthetic corks, and at least the more expensive the wine, the better the cork, okay? And the longer the cork. Like on a good wine, you'll have the cork will go maybe 1.7 inches, okay? This one here is like an inch and a half, okay, 1.25 inches. Okay, this is a $20 bottle, 30. But the longer the age, the longer the cork, and the better the quality of the cork. Now, most all your corks are cut from oak cork trees. And I would say 80% of the world's cork for wines the majority come from Portugal, probably 60%, another 20% from Spain, okay? And cork trees are, some people think, oh, the cork trees are endangered, it's a waste of cork. They're not endangered, okay? They plant the forest, and a cork tree can grow 200 to 300 years old. What they do is they let the tree grow for 25 years, and they peel the bark off the side. It might be that thick. They have a guy with a very sharp axe. One man, he cuts them in circles and then around. Then he cut that cork, and then he comes back 9 to 15 years later, and then cuts it again. And that's the final time they can use the cork. So it's 43 years. It could be up to 40 to 43 years until they can first use the tree for a cork. And the tree keeps growing. For some reason, they peel that. If you do that to certain trees, they'll die. But you can peel a cork tree, and they keep peeling. And they come back, and then they peel it, and then they peel it. And they'll do certain rings on them. And, it cuts down the emissions, the carbon emissions are cut down tremendously. I mean, when I say acres and acres and acres, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry in Portugal in the forest, and they grow these forests. Now, also, you'll see, this is that Gusamon, the Italian wine. See, the two brothers, when they went to Italy, when they went to Australia, they came back with this idea, okay? It's a little rubber stoppy here around glass. And they did that. They got the idea from Australia because Australia got a little upset. They thought they had bad cork sent to them because the cheaper the wine, the less expensive the cork. Well, in 1972, Australia almost lost the entire crop with bad corks. They thought it could be French and the Portuguese sending them they were getting bad corks, and it was a little bit of a huff there for a while. And also, they have to come up with a new idea because corks come from Portugal. To go from Portugal to Australia, it's extremely expensive to ship corks, okay? So the shipping and the getting and everything else. Now, when a cork goes in a bottle, okay, it'll go in and then it will form, then it will come out. Now, most wines, okay, you store them like this because the wine runs to the tip of the cork and keeps it wet, okay? So, and that's pretty much it on corks, okay? Tainted corks, they call it a TCA in it, and it can ruin the wines. Matter of fact, there was a vineyard in California. We've had one of their wines. They sued 8 years. I think they sued in 2008. They said 30% of their thing was ruined because of the cork. And there was a big thing in courts, and was it the cork or was it not? And Australia in 2010 did the first twist off. Now 20% of the wines today are twist offs, and twist offs are okay for a wine that's 1 or 2 years. It holds to 0 in temperature sometimes because of the air getting in there, the way it's done, bottled, okay? But the wine, it freezes before 0. I'm saying the 0 amount of air gets. Now, the wines are, the less expensive wines are done that way. And the less expensive wines, you use synthetics. And as a wine gets better, the cork gets better, the cork gets more expensive. You know, when you're drinking a wine that's going to sit for 30 years, they might be spending, you know, a cork, like say this cork here might cost them 20 cents to produce and sell. You know, they're putting in a good French wine, they're paying $1 for that cork, okay? 70 cents. It's an extremely, and the champagne cork, the cork costs more than the bottle, okay? The glass bottle and the muzzle, the cork costs more. So, now, the next thing is laying down wines, real quick. Okay, if you're gonna do a cellar, okay, you can go buy a thermometer, okay, and a hydrometer that tells you the temperature and humidity. Now, most wines you want to be 55% is perfect, but if you're between 60, you know, 50 and 60, the thing is big swings. You don't want big swings, okay. But if you're between 50 and 60, now you can buy a temperature meter. I did it in my cellar because I was going to make it a mechanical cellar. I was going to get all, you know, the refrigeration and everything and the air blowers and the dehumidifiers. Well, I went and I put a humidifier and a thing. I put a brick wall up in a corner with a door, came in, and I just put that, once I put that thermometer in there, because you can't have it in the basement where you have, let's say you have the washing machine or you have your furnace, that's not going to work. But this was closed off. Okay, and you want a certain amount of humidity. You want like 70% humidity. So I put that in there, and it was perfect. I didn't need any. So you don't have to worry about a blackout. You don't have to worry about something getting hot, because it gives you the reading for the year. You know, it gives you the high and low. So it's perfect. And they're $15. So if you have a place where you're thinking of laying some bottles of wine, because you don't want light, okay, you don't want it too dry because it'll dry the cork out. So you want a little humidity. You want the temperature to be about the same. You want dark. So if you had like a downstairs or a thing, it can work, you know. So, and you can go buy yourself some cases, 10, 12 cases, 15 cases, which is plenty. And you pick different wines, you know. And some people, you know, some people like vertical tastings, like horizontal tastings, okay. Vertical tasting is when you're tasting all the wines from 1 year from the vineyard, okay. And then the horizontal is horizontal, you're doing different vineyards, okay, same year. So one's, you know, different vintages, not vineyard. One's different vineyards, wine, and the other one's different vintages, okay? And from the same estate, okay? So vertical, you're doing the same estate. Horizontal, you're doing different estates, same vintage, okay? And now, for this, the wine we're doing tonight, this is one of my go-to wines, okay? This is Hobnob. Now, this is George Dubouf, who's noted for his, George Dubouf's noted for his Beaujolais, okay? He's #1 Beaujolais guy. And, you know, and that's a wine that's drank, comes out every year. It's a seasonal wine. You drink it, and you don't store it. You don't lay it down. You just drink it, okay? It's an inexpensive, it's a flowery wine. So this is in the south of France, okay? This is on the Mediterranean, okay? This is Hobnob. Now, Jeffrey Deutsch, okay? The Deutsch, now, Bill Deutsch and his son Peter founded this company. It's a marketing company in Connecticut, like 30 years ago, you know, in the 80s. In 81 they founded it, so it's almost 40 years ago. And they went to George Dubouf in 2007 and said, listen, let's market Pinot Noir. Now, French Pinot Noir is going to drink a light. And their thing is they do Josh, they do Cigar Box, they do Yellowtail. They got 37 wines and maybe 5 or 6 spirits and different, and good selling. They go after the millennial market. This is considered a millennial market. The millennials, they want something pleasant to drink, not too complex. That's what they shoot for. That's where they go. Different looking bottle, Hobnob. Hey, hang out Let's have a cocktail. It's a very easy drinking wine, okay? And here's a twist off, okay? So, then this wine, like we say, it's the Mediterranean. That region's right on the Mediterranean, as far as south as you can go, and right into the Spanish border, okay? And it's got the, warm days, Mediterranean breezes off the sea at night. The soil's good, everything works. Now this wine is going to be a lot lighter than, let's say, a California Pinot, okay? California Pinot is going to be a little bigger, okay? This is real easy. This is a simple, easy, very favorable wine if you want to do a broad base of people where everyone's going to be, saying, oh, that's nice. It's got good cherry, okay? It's a cherry raspberry kind of smell to it. It's a medium body, okay? It has a little bit of spice. It works well with a number of foods. This will work with light meats. This will work with even ground, burger. You can do it with pizza. This is just a good everyday. This is probably the wine I drink more than any other wine, because I can just go grab it. And the store around here sells it for $9.99, and I'll face it off next to one for $15. I like this just as much, and it's a light one. It's a light. It's a very sweet, nice. Not sweet. It's dry, but it's a very, Oh, I made a mistake last night. I called that a fruity wine. They're not fruity wines. Muscadets are never fruity. I meant you can taste the pear and the pear in it, but it's not a fruity wine. Okay. So now today is this week is Teachers Appreciation Week. Now we have all these home tutors, right? Moms and dads and grandmothers and grandparents. So what we're doing is this is for the home tutors. You're allowed to you take this tonight and you go make yourself a little, not the 1 ounce. We'll let you go to 3 or 4. You give it a couple of twirls. You sit there. Kids are in bed. You lay back. Put on a rerun. Put your feet up. Write down a little story about so you can pass it on in years to come. But listen, once again, we take our hats off to all the hospital workers. From the guy who opens the door, to the ambulance driver, to the nurse, to the doctor, to the EMTs, of course, to the hospital administration. They're working, they're putting in days. They're putting in hours, and the hours are hard, and they're strenuous, and getting up to go to work is a difficulty thing. So, and also for the people working in the stores, the police, the firemen, we continue to salute you, and may you be in God's good graces, okay? We love you. You're in our graces. Take care. God bless. See you tomorrow.